Gavin Shields, welcome to Hacking Self-Storage, buddy. Thank you for having you on. You must be the most talked about person in self-storage at the minute. I get so many questions about it, and so I am over the moon to have you on.
Well, yeah, well, that's a surprise, but yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It's good to be back, third time round. Hopefully, it makes a bit of sense.
So for people who don't know then, Gavin, let's start from the beginning. Why did you get into self-storage? Why did you open a self-storage facility? What did you see?
I got in because my uncle has a self-storage business in my local town with about 50 containers. He told me that people keep moving in and never moving out. So it sounded like a good business. I had just sold some shares in the tech company I ran at the time and wanted to invest in something. Thought I'll look at self-storage. And when I looked at the industry as a whole in the UK, I could see that towns of sort of 5 to 50,000 people, maybe more like 5 to 30,000 people, tended to have a lot of container sites, external storage, but tended not to really have indoor storage. And I thought, well, there must be a market for indoor storage in towns in the UK. So I looked around. I could see that there were about 750 towns in the UK with 5 to 50,000 people in them with no indoor self-storage, which is actually 20 million people, a third of the country. And I thought, well, why don't I apply technology and automation to a much smaller indoor site in a town and see how it goes? And so I did that about 2.5 years ago, used technology to make it unmanned. And I think for the first time, I think ever really made indoor self-storage in a smaller facility economically viable because we sort of cut a lot of the running costs by using automation and technology.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember when we was on the phone talking, and you're the reason why we're doing what we're doing now, because you just made it so crystal clear, saying, look, 0.74 square foot or whatever it was then, 0.7 square foot per capita. If there's a population of this is how much storage there should be. Like, shit, why hadn't I thought this before? And all of a sudden, that was it. My whole landscape changed the way I look at self-storage. Quick question for you that I wasn't planning to ask you. I know you support a lot of outdoor facilities now, a lot of container sites. Have you changed in terms of indoor versus outdoor? Are you still very much indoor, or have you started to see the benefit of the outdoor sites?
Certainly from a Stora point of view, about half of our customers run outdoor container sites. Wow. And we can see how well they do. They're a brilliant cash business. I think if you're getting into self-storage, it's a really nice way to get into self-storage actually, because there's lower upfront cost. For my own facility business, we're quite rigidly sticking to our original plan, which is indoor self-storage in small towns in Northern Ireland, and that's what we're focusing on. We're opening up our third site in a couple of months, and just kind of doing that. But no, I think both are brilliant businesses, as you know yourself.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll just quickly ask you about your self-storage sites, and then we'll get on to Stora. So you've got 2 sites now, with one extra one coming. How are your sites coming along? Are they still exactly what you expected when you first opened, or the better?
Yeah, I mean they're way better. So the first site I opened, it opened in September 2019. So it's like 27 months ago. We had that filled. So it's 9,000 square feet of net lettable. We had that filled in a population of 22,000 people. We filled in 22 months. And so we had 80% capacity in July last year, which was incredible. And we were at that point getting about £18 square foot. Since then, it's kind of been a quiet couple of months. We've grown to 22, or I think £22.78 a square foot now. Our occupancy has dropped down over the past month or so to about 67%. But that's okay. Our actual revenue, our total revenue is every month is a record amount of revenue. We're about 2,000. I think I'd originally forecast would never go beyond £11,000 a month. I think we're at £13,000 a month at the moment, and there's room for us to get that full. Yeah, like I would expect by June, July time that'll hopefully hit about 15. So it's the return on investment on that one site alone has been, it's around 45% at the moment. I think it could potentially get 50-55% of things if a good sort of 4 or 5 months.
That is incredible. The problem is, Gavin, I could speak to you all day. He's just absolutely crazy. So £18 per square foot you started with, and you got to £22.78. How did you do that? What was the revenue management in place for that?
Well, actually, when I opened, my original pricing for the first sort of 6 months was about £14.50 to £15 a square foot. And I took quite a sort of, I just kind of waited to see what happened. But I could see bookings coming through on different sizes and just started to put the price up by £1 a week, £2 a week on different sizes. Slowly but surely, then the pricing on the website became kind of, 17, 18, 19, £20 a square foot. And now it's probably sitting at about £24, £25 a square foot. So it was just a matter of slowly increasing the prices. Not mostly because I was starting to run out of sizes. So I had to increase the price to kind of slow things down a little bit. Did that. And then in October, actually, we did our first price increase on existing customers as well. And we actually followed your exact, you did a couple of podcasts about it. We followed that exact plan. So we had 20% price increases. And that added an extra £1,500 to the bottom line in a month. It was insane.
That is excellent. So did you have any pushback?
We had two customers pushed back, and we followed your plan. We reduced it to 10%.
Yeah, it's incredible. And because my rule was that customers don't complain. Customers, we're in England. We don't complain about things. We just, but we harbour grudges. And so I was thinking, so I wanted to see the data of how many people moved out with, if it got a price increase, how many people moved out within 3 months after that price increase. And I wanted the data on 1 month, 2 months, and 3 months. And it was incredible. It was incredibly low. And that's why all of a sudden I was thinking, well, it's ridiculous to be worried about price increases. I see so many people, because I'm a bit of a geek. I like watching and listening and learning about different websites, different businesses in the self-storage industry. And so many people put on as a USP, we will not increase your price. And I'm like, oh man, everything goes up. You're actually giving money away. You're losing money because of inflation. Things go up. It's expected to. And I don't know what are you gaining from not doing it? I can't understand why people don't do it. Next question for you, Gavin, on your sites. I do want to get to Stora. Do you have any more plans then to go past the 3? What is the end goal for you guys?
We'd like to. So our first 2 were leaseholds. This third one we're actually buying the location. So there's no big sort of world domination plan there. It's a really nice investment, and we're just planning to kind of just slowly grow that. So if we can find another site this year for a 4th one, we do that. But yeah, I'd like to get back in my head. I think it'd be nice to get to 10 sites in Northern Ireland over the next 3 to 5 years. But we'll see.
Yeah, and how do you see the industry going this year? Do you still see demand increasing for self-storage?
Well, I suppose I try not to. I wouldn't be comfortable trying to give any sort of forecast myself. I don't feel qualified to. But I suppose I just saw an interest rate thing come out this morning at 5.5%, or was it yesterday morning, which is high. So if inflation 5.5%. So if inflation continues to be high, if interest rates go up, you would expect to see a slowdown in consumer spending. Whether that impacts self-storage or not, I don't know. If you look back to 2008, 2009, things seem to go pretty well. They're pretty stable. So I don't know. If I had to bet on it, I'd probably say we won't have as good a year this year as we saw last year in terms of move-ins. But structurally, I don't see the industry kind of having any big issues over the next few years.
Yeah, I think it was Warren Buffett or somebody real high profile said that they never tried to time the market. And do you kind of subscribe to that as well? Never try to time the market when you get in self-storage, because it's a long-term gain. You believe in self-storage, believe in the industry long-term. So it doesn't matter if this year is going to be necessarily slower. You don't try to time it. You just know long-term it's going to be a good bet.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we're buying a property now, so I suppose I'm not trying to stay away from the market because I think it's quite high. I think I don't know. I would say if you're listening to Warren Buffett, you're probably not too far away from being being right. So yeah, I probably wouldn't try and time it, because who knows? Warehousing and stuff has obviously gone way up in price over the past couple of years. So you might think, oh, it's going to come down, but who's to say that isn't a 20-year structural shift where that's going to continue, and we'll look back on the prices this year and think, wow, they were cheap. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be too worried about timing myself.
Yeah. So we got you on here to talk about Stora then, because I'm getting inundated with Stora questions myself. What is Stora? People who've never ever heard of it.
Oh, good question. I suppose Stora is I would describe it to anyone with a bit of technical background as a Shopify for self-storage. What I mean by that is, if you're a self-storage operator and you want to bring your business online, you want to do online bookings and payments, if you want to manage your facility, if you want to optimize your revenue, grow your revenue, dramatically cut the costs of administering your business, then Stora gives you, it's a software product, gives you everything you need to get online, process payments, booking and payments online, do your online check-in, help people move in, give you everything. So in a nutshell, Shopify for self-storage. But I suppose a different way of describing it is a software product for self-storage automation that helps you to grow your business, save time, and reduce costs.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. And where did the idea come from? Where did you start? How did you start Stora? Was it because you saw demand when you first opened up your facility, or was this always a plan to start the software as well as a facility?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There was no original plan to set up Stora. I set up my facility, the first facility, and I suppose I went into that thinking, I'll just open one facility, I'll just see how it goes. I had no long-term plan. But as I saw that going pretty well, I could see there was an opportunity for in self-storage, just in general as an operator. So I thought, right, I'm going to get more sites. I'm going to grow this business. And then about 2 years ago, I wrote an article because it was the start of lockdown. I wrote this article about all the technology I built to automate my business. I remember that article.
I absolutely loved it. I just geeked out on it. It was brilliant.
Well, thank you very much. But I suppose the thing with that article was, at that time I just sort of sellotaped. I think I probably said this before. I sellotaped the whole pile of third-party products together to make it work, and it sort of worked for me. And then off the back of that article, I had tons and tons of operators contact me, just saying, "Can we use this?" But I hadn't built it for anybody else. So I suppose then one of the things I got asked then more and more was, "Can I franchise StoreStuff and your brand and your systems?" And so I looked into franchising. I did think for a while about franchising StoreStuff as a model, but I spent a bit of time reading a few books on franchising. Spoke to a couple of people in the UK who have been involved in self-storage franchising, and I ultimately decided or concluded that it didn't feel like the right fit for self-storage. I don't think franchising you don't really get the benefits of franchising in self-storage. So I suppose then I thought, well, there seems to be demand for this sort of automated product that operators want. But also, I suppose I thought, well, the industry is huge. I didn't see, to be honest, I didn't see brilliant software in the industry. I sort of saw a gap in the market for that. And I thought, well, what's the best way for me to build a product that people will want and need, but also, I suppose, have some exposure to the industry and its growth over time. So Stora, in the end, felt like the closest thing for me as somebody who's built technology products. It felt like something I could deliver on. And I've co-founders of a really, really amazing technical team of people I work with who are able to build world-class tech products. If it wasn't for them, I would never have gone down this route. But I knew we could build something really good. I knew we could build something people would want, and that hopefully we could build a good business around it too. So that was why we decided to go down that route.
Yeah, I think I've been very vocal on the podcast about why I chose. Well, actually, when we're recording this on Wednesday. I've released a podcast out today saying why I chose Stora. And one of the big reasons, Gavin, is because I really wanted to partner with you because I wanted an insight into the ground level, how you see things. Just talking to you, I genuinely think that what you're going to create there at Stora is going to be absolutely fantastic. One of the things that really surprised me when I first saw it was the website. You actually design websites for people already. It's a plug and play, so somebody can have their website up and running for their own individual self-storage facility almost immediately. where did that idea come from? Because I thought that was brilliant. You saw something that could potentially hold a customer back, hold somebody back from opening a self-storage, is a website, designing a website, building a website, and you've just done it for them. I found that fascinating. I love that, just that little insight into how your mind works and how you guys at Stora believe in marketing. I thought it was absolutely genius.
Well, thanks very much, Dean. You're putting a lot of pressure on me here by what you're saying there about why you worked with us. But hopefully,
I've got some more difficult questions coming. Don't worry.
What was I going to say? It all seemed quite easy at the start because I knew what I needed. This time 3 years ago, I was looking for a software product for my self-storage business, and I expected to find a Shopify style product that I could set up, and by the end of in a couple of hours, I'd have my website, I'd be able to take bookings, and it would all be automated, but I couldn't find it. So I needed to build a website myself. I needed to build a payment solution. I needed to build an invoicing and billing solution. I needed to work out how I'm going to do online check-in for my customers. I needed to work out how am I going to connect into a smart empty system. And I mean, I'm probably forgetting a few things here, but I had to work out all these different things so that I could open up my first facility. So I suppose the nice thing about that was I knew exactly what problems I had experienced in trying to get set up. So it was just a matter of, well, if I had that experience, there'll be hundreds of other people who will have the same experience. So what do you need when you set up? You need a website. You want to be able to take bookings and payments online. You want automated invoicing. You want automated payments. We also did things like we created this image library. So we've got, I don't know if it's hundreds of images yet, but we've got dozens and dozens of images that our operators can use that we've created for your website. So things that I had to go and create 3 years ago and pay different people to create, we just made those available to everybody. So we're trying to just make life really simple for people. And that's why even like our brand marketplace, we got a bunch of different designers to go and create 10 self-storage brands, including the logos, the designs, the name, and even the domain name. And we had them just had people make them, and we put them on our website, and we sell those now. So if you're 3 years ago, I needed a brand, I needed a name, I needed a domain name, I needed logos, I needed everything done. So we've now done that. So if somebody wants to, they can go to our website, pick one and buy it, and they don't have to think about going to hiring designers. Like, how do I get a designer to make my logo? Like, maybe you have no experience of doing that. We've done it all for you. So it's all about just trying to make life really simple, especially at the start. Like, so this time last year, it was all about making life really simple for new operators, because that was our core target market initially. We've moved on a bit from that, so we do that, and we're moving now to larger operators as well. But so that's the background of that's how we end up kind of having the website and everything else, because it was all about just we had a customer there 3 or 4 months ago. I did a demo with him at 2 PM. By 3:30, his website was live to take bookings and payments. So it can be really, really quick and simple, and that was the goal of Stora. And just make it really easy for everybody. Take a lot of the hassle out of it. Let them focus on getting the property, getting the fit out done, marketing the thing, and maybe getting a second site opened.
Yeah. Do you know what? I completely forgot that you did that brand, that you do all that brand, you do all that logos, it's a ready-made brand there. I completely forgot that was something that Stora did. Do many people take that then?
Well, we've only sold one. We've sold one so far, which actually is fine. But so far, but I keep forgetting to tell people, and I don't talk about it very much. So we've had quite a few people interested, and I think it's really good value. But yeah, I would say like to sold one so far is actually really good. I would say it's a success. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some more sold in the next while.
Yeah, so you mentioned in the last question and last answer, you mentioned about the person, Stora was originally for the person wanting to set up a self-storage facility, and that's changed quite a bit from now. This goes perfectly to my next question. Who is Stora's ideal avatar now? Is it still the guy setting up, or is it for the bigger locations and more the people already have 1, 2, 3 self-storage facilities up and running?
Well, our long-term ambition for Stora is that if you're operating a self-storage business anywhere in the world, you'll have to use Stora or you'll be at a disadvantage. And that's because our product is going to become so valuable and so useful for people. So we started off, the way I see it is we have sort of 4 target customer groups. And the first one is the people who are getting started up. And they're the ones that our product has been the best fit for up until, I suppose, very recently. It's a really, really, really good fit. If you're getting started in self-storage, I don't think, even if you take pricing and everything into account, I think Stora is by far the best solution for you. And we can maybe get into a bit of pricing as well if you want to at some point. And I think it's probably the cheapest and the best solution for your business. So you'll make more money. So I think it's a really good fit for them. The second group of customer targets that we're focusing on more and more now, and it's more because we're getting contacted by them, is people with, say, 50, 100, 150, 200,000 pounds of monthly revenue. So that sort of size of business. And for those sort of customers, Stora is becoming more and more useful, because it's all about sort of automation of the business processes, helping to shift some of the burden from the quote. As you know, we remove the quote process from the whole flow. Yep. So we make bookings and payments available online, and what that does, it typically reduces the number of people who call your office or visit your office or email you by 50 to 70%. So that will typically cut out a pile of staff time and staff costs. We also have a lot of tools around minimizing churn, minimizing late payments. So there's a lot of stuff that we do for larger operators. So we're focusing on them a good bit now as well. We've also, this time last year, we were a team of 3. Now we have a team of 13. I would say this time next year, it'll be a team of probably 20, 25, depending what way we decide to go with things. So we're investing a ton. It just means that our product grows, our features improve, the quality improves, and as you know, we're going to scale up. So eventually, and I would say it's probably 2-3 years away, we'll have a product that would be suitable for the REITs to use. And you know, we'd like to think at that point they will want to come to Stora because they will save money and grow revenues and save time.
You said this, and Stora is so valuable, and if you don't use it, you'll be at a distinct disadvantage. How would Stora be so valuable then to people who use it?
That's a really good question. So I think ultimately what that comes down to is, can we sort of just get a little bit of an idea of scale. So this time last year, Stora processed about £10,000 of monthly revenues. All of our customers together, because we had 2 customers. This month, we've gone, like last month we processed about £160,000. This month it'll probably be £200,000. I'd say by the end of this year we'll be processing a couple of £1 million through Stora every month. So if you fast forward, 2 years, I would say it'll be, will it be £50 million a month? I don't know. Hopefully in that sort of scale, we'll be starting to process lots of money through the system. What that means is we have tons and tons of bookings, thousands and thousands of data points. So what I'd like to, I know that some of the bigger REITs would typically have something like a pricing model. What that'll do is it'll be collecting all the data they have access to and trying to optimize the price on the website based on all sorts of things like what happened this day last year. Is it a bank holiday? Maybe they take into account things like weather. Maybe they take into account, students are about to move out of uni, we need 15 square foot units for them, or whatever it might be. There's tons of stuff they'll have access to. We will have access to 10 times the amount of data, 20 times the amount of data, 50 times the amount of data that those guys have. Global data as well, because we have customers now in 6 different countries. So if we can use that properly and give Big Yellow, give some of the guys in the US, give them access to a pricing module that is not just their data, but global self-storage data based on, for example, because we host the payments, we could have live data on bookings this very second. How many bookings have been made in the past 1 minute in global self-storage? Be interesting to know, wouldn't it? How busy is 10 to 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning in the UK for bookings? Like, if it's a really, really, really busy time, for some bizarre reason, is it worth putting the price up by 0.5% for that hour? Just making those little changes. So I think it ultimately comes down to, can we take data and give people, all operators, something that's so valuable that they can't. The revenue is up by 6, 7, 8, 10% year on year because they use Stora versus not using Stora. I think once you get to that point, you're indispensable, and you're such a valuable product that everyone would have to use you or be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, so something you said to me on the phone a bit ago, I completely forgot about it until just now. Really, really worried me, and it was the last time we talked. And it's just what I've just wrote down here. But you're taking away my competitive advantage, and I said that my competitive advantage is the operational skills. I believe we operate our facility just as good as anybody possibly in the UK. And you said to me that Stora could potentially take away that, because you don't need to be good to operate a Stora. Stora can do it all for you. Stora can use all everything we've learned, and they can incorporate it and do it almost automated. And I was like, holy shit, that's going to be, because my plan is to grow, to develop, to buy greenfield sites and open up from scratch for the next 10 years. And then I know the opportunity is going to change. And perhaps at the minute, I think that you can almost open up anywhere and make a success. But in 10 years' time, it will be the case. And so my idea is that I'm going to buy underperforming and mismanaged self-storage facilities, and I'm going to add value to them, and I'm going to add them to our portfolio, or I might even flip them. I might sell them after maybe a period of 24 months where I do some revenue management. We put in some sales processes better. We just do the basic stuff really, really well, and we maximize the revenue and therefore maximize the profit, and then we maximize the value of the company. But listening to you now, I'm thinking, well, holy shit, everybody's going to be a fantastic operator because Stora is going to have all that data for you. And so that worries me, Gavin.
Well, I think, like, first of all, we're not there yet. I think, I think if you're operating like the way you operate your Willoughby store is, is I'm sure best in class in many ways. But, Stora is for a sort of slightly different model, which is more like less, maybe we'll get into this in a little bit, but we're more focused on, I think, the online customer experience and making that optimal. And I suppose one of the things that I firmly believe, and we are going to have data for this soon at some point, so that it's not just me saying it, but I am convinced that the self-storage industry is going to move completely online, the same way hotels and airlines are. It doesn't make sense that there's this small industry where there's been quite slow technical, I suppose, like software has been pretty sleepy here. It doesn't make sense that it just happens that people don't want to interact with that industry the same way they interact with airlines, hotels, and everything else. People increasingly, and in the majority now, want to get everything done online. They want to do it as quickly as they can. And so I think in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, you're probably right. I think Stora will, like, our goal is so that if you're using Stora, your operations will be the slickest they can possibly be. And so what does that mean for what you're talking about here? You can find competitive advantages still in other ways. Maybe your competitive advantage, it will be in your ability to raise finance and to find sites and to how do you onboard them. There'll always be an element in every business. I mean, you still have to interact with people when you take a flight. You still turn up at the airport, check in, and you'll have an experience with people. You might not like EasyJet. You might like Ryanair. I mean, it's normally the way around, but you might not like them because of the way you're treated by their people. There's always going to be a people aspect to every business, so that'll always continue. So there'll always be some scope there for differentiation. But I just think if you have a technical product like Stora that is designed and optimized like to the nth degree to convert people online into paying customers and treat them really well, then like anyone using it should have that advantage. But everybody should do better because of that. Everyone should do better. It's a bit like, everyone can do better now. If you've got a house and you want to rent it out over the summer, put it in Airbnb. You're going to do far better now. You might not like having to pay Airbnb, whatever the charge, but you'll be able to make a lot more money on that than you ever would have before, like 10 years ago, because they've created this market and they've helped actually drive it forward by making things so easy. And so I think you're right. You'll have to find competitive advantage in other areas, but your business will still do better and better and better.
Yeah, I love it. You said something a couple of minutes ago, it pricked my ears, and I was like, oh my God, how did I mention that? You said minimize churn. How does Stora help minimize churn? What? Because I've been looking at everything possible. I've listened to podcasts, I've read books about churn, and I've tried to take other practices from other industries, especially gyms, to try and minimize our churn rate. what do you guys know about minimizing churn? How can you help me and the people listening? Because I would love to learn.
I thought you might pick up on that actually when I said it.
I'm really passionate about it because I think if you minimize churn, you maximize your profit exponentially. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, and I suppose what I can see, I think you can define churn in two ways. One is churn of people moving out. Can you stop somebody from moving out? I think the question for me there is, should you try? I think one of the things that fundamentally think is our approach at Stora. We're really focused on customer first. So everything we think about in terms of the way we design our product, it's all about customer first, and that's a philosophy that I'd like to talk about a little bit more. But when somebody wants to move out, is it a nice experience for them to say make it hard for them to move out? That's not a nice experience. Make it easy for them to move out, and that's putting the customer first. So that's not the sort of churn I'm talking about. I was talking there about, for example, like customers who churn because their payments start to fail. So there's a bit of technology because our stuff sits on top of Stripe. There's a lot of technology there. For example, let's say you have a customer paying by card and their card expires and is replaced. If you're using, as far as I'm aware, any other payment processor, that card will start to fail, and that could, the customer might update it, but they might eventually just kind of disappear on you, and that's a different type of churn. So I appreciate that's probably not what was understood when I said churn. But Stripe has technology that will update automatically the card, and it will stop those failed payments.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, like Stripe is people. Stripe can be a little bit more expensive, although actually it is competitive ultimately whenever you get down to the sort of scale that we're hitting now. It's very underpriced, but they've two really cool bits of tech around things. I guess one is they update the cards. So the cards don't expire, your customer payments don't fail. And if a customer's payment does fail, our technology does this sort of retry process for 8 times over 2 weeks. But Stripe use some technology to pick the exact time of day based on their millions of data points that optimizes the chance or maximizes the chance of the payment being successful. So they probably do it at a time whenever they know that you've probably been paid, and they'll get that money before maybe somebody else does. So it's Stripe is a brilliant bit of tech, and there's things like this that are actually for a subscription style business like self-storage is. They're so valuable, that I think it's worth. Even if Stripe was twice the price, I think it would probably still be worth it for some operators.
Yeah, that's incredible. I actually mentioned this on the podcast of why I chose Stora, and one of it was your debt procedure, because I'm a mastermind for self-storage in America, and they say that anything less than 3% debt that you lose is okay, 3% of your revenue. And I was like, and people are above that, and I was like, oh my God, absolutely not. If we're above 1%, I'm mad. And I talked to you about it, and you literally had, when we talked about it at the time, in the last 9 months, you had nobody that hadn't paid and no bad debt. And I was like, this is incredible. And it's exactly like that, the process that you have inbuilt in Stora.
We've written off £96 in 2.5 years of revenue out of around £300,000 of revenue. So I don't know what that is a percentage. It's minuscule because our system, and it's largely because of Stripe, it's just relentless.
I'll say that. Say it's because of Stora.
But I suppose that's a technical decision that we made with Stora to work with Stripe for some of their benefits.
Holy shit, that is 0.00032%. And people are saying that 1% is okay, 2% is okay, anything below 3%. It's your money. You're losing money. And I just don't accept that. I don't accept that 1% is okay. When we have to write a bad debt off, I see as though we failed that person at some point for that to be a write-off of debt. We've done something wrong somewhere online, because at some point there'll be money in their account and it's our money. And so I love that. And just going back to what you said about the customer journey, you've got to make it as easy as possible for somebody to move out. I agree, because when I want to unsubscribe from an email, I get so pissed off if they make it difficult for me, because I want to unsubscribe, and that should be my right to unsubscribe whenever I want. And some companies, some people make it incredibly difficult. They make you answer a few questions, few tick boxes. Why are you unsubscribing before you do it? No, just unsubscribe me. And so, I 100% start with a customer in mind and work backwards.
Yeah, and I think so that we apply that to, I suppose, also just our approach, because I think if you can think of everything through the customer first lens, then you start to think like, what is the optimal customer experience from the moment they look for self-storage to the moment they move in or even move out. And that's also, I think, partly that I think having your website have online bookings and payments is a critical part of customer first, because what I come across a lot is operators, and I understand why they do this, but they want to hide prices, and they do that because it's often there's a belief that we need to explain to our customers, how we work. Maybe we're more expensive than the competitors, so we have to we want to get them on the phone to like sell to them. And the thing about that sort of process is, like, if you're thinking about the customers, what are they on your website trying to do? How do you serve your customer first and not your own sort of operator beliefs or your own goals? Your goal there is to get a sale, and you want to get the customer through that. But if you're thinking customer first, what do they want? Well, they want to go to your site. They want all the questions that they have about self-storage answered on there. There's no reason that a website can't do that better than a person. So, like, for example, like, let's say you're booking a hotel. If you're comparing a travel in with, I don't know, some nice hotel in Barbados, like, you'll go to the website, you can tell from the site that you'll be able to look at pictures, you'll be able to make a conclusion within probably 10 seconds, but probably a minute or two. Like, is this where I want to spend money, or is there I want to spend my money? And you can make a decision. You don't need to call the hotel and ask them about, is there an espresso machine in the room? You'll be able to get all that information from the website, and you can make a decision yourself. So how do we get, and I think the reason that this has happened in self-storage is I think ultimately across the board websites probably aren't just doing a good enough job. There's another argument, which is it's quite a new industry. People don't understand it yet. But I just think a website should be able to get that information across really well. And I'm counting myself here with my own facility business. There's massive room for improvement. But once we do improve and get to the point where that's better, the customer first experience is going to be go to your website, get all their questions answered, make a booking, set up the payment, and have all that done in a couple of minutes. That is a customer first approach that I think ultimately will drive your business to succeed better as well, because you're making your customers happy. Customers are happy, you get more recommendations, they spend more money, they'll pay more, and your business will do better.
Yeah, I think it's silly to argue with you, but I'm going to try. So, because you put everything across so well, and I'm like, yeah, it's exactly right. But I've only got a small sample data size. You've got a massive sample size. And I was going to mention this later on when we was talking about other things, but since we got on the price thing, I think I'll bring it up as well. I want to serve the customers as well. I want to make the customer make the best decision. And I truly believe that the best decision for the customer is to come to my facility, because I believe we're safer. I believe the staff are better. I believe the interactions will be better. The opening hours are better. We give you free van hire. Other people don't. There's so many reasons why that you should use us as opposed to somebody else. But the problem is, I feel like my website does a good job in certain aspects, does a terrible job in other aspects. But there's so many USPs that we've got. It's almost like I'm chucking and cramming so much things in that we do that other people don't. And the problem is, I do believe that this is a very, very early industry. And so many people don't understand what self-storage is. So when they first ring you up, when they first speak to you, they have no idea what to ask, because they're so uneducated. And I don't mean that in a detrimental way whatsoever. People just don't understand self-storage. So the first question they ask is, how much is it? And then it's our job then is we don't want to give them a price first of all. We want to ask them, have you used self-storage before? Do you understand the product? And then based on that answer, then we can go down and say, this is why we're different. Or, right, you've never used self-storage before. Well, I'm getting the price. Let me just talk to you about self-storage and the product and what we offer. And it's our job then to educate the customer. So I believe that I'm serving the customer by educating the customer. And that's the best way, because I don't want them to go down the road to ABC containers. Actually, I won't use ABC containers because I've just come across ABC containers, and they're a brilliant site. I use an ABC containers just as a fictional name, but there is actually a company called ABC Containers, and they're actually quite good. So ZXYZ containers or whatever. I don't want you to go to them because I know we've got a better product. There's another container site near us that gets drug busted all the time, and they're a lot cheaper. And the website looks okay, but the problem is on people's websites as well, Gavin, that they're actually using fake pictures. Our competitors are not using pictures of their sites. They've got these American drive-up standard units on their website that is not their. It's not their product. It's not their pictures. And then they've got pictures of indoor facilities, and they're an outdoor facility. They're banged up, stupid containers, and they're actually mispositioning themselves. And the problem is with the customers, they have no idea who to believe and who not to believe. And normally, 100%, I'd always say, the customer wants a price, give them the price. Do not stand in their way, because you're just going to create friction. But then on another part, I do believe that this conversation will not be happening in 5 years. Everybody will be showing their prices online. I was talking to Anne Ballard, and Anne Ballard says, I said, do you believe in showing your prices? And she goes, what other way is he? And because I do believe that America's 10 years in front of us, and everybody she speaks to always shows the prices online. All the American ones show the prices online. And I'm just fearful if we're there yet, if a customer can make an informed decision, because we're selling a 5-star product, and the website down the road is pretending they're a 5-star product. But when they get there, we know that customers are really, really disappointed, but they've only got the van hire with a removal company, so they've got no choice but to move in, and they're upset, they're mad, they put their reviews online, and then I know then that the facility offers them money to take the review down, so they do. And so I get the point, and you've got, because every single time you can just come and hit me with, my data size is bigger than, and you don't do this, but you could always say, my data size is bigger than yours.
Bigger than yours.
Yeah. And so therefore I know better than you. And that would be a very valid point. And so I'm always conscious that when I'm disagreeing with you, that you have more data. And so I'm arguing almost blind compared to what you're arguing. So that's my piece at trying to disagree with you on the prices, on the price war.
I think those are really, really valid points. And I think then if you put that in the context of putting the customer first, how bad of an experience do those customers have of your competitors? I mean, that is an awful, awful customer experience from the moment you arrive. It's
terrible.
So they will not use it again. They won't trust those people, and they'll have a negative experience there. So I wouldn't worry about that sort of thing. I think that's okay. That person running that business is running it differently. They probably are making an awful lot less money than you will. Like your business will go through the test of time. That business probably will not. Especially as things become more competitive, they just you can't continue a business like that. That's not a long-term approach to building a good business.
It's not. No.
Another part I would make is there's nothing that you can't get across on your website that some combination of text, images, and videos can't get across. All that stuff that you talked about you want to tell your customers the difference. That's all. The thing about that is, if you can do that well on a website, it's better than having an employee do it, because every employee will do it differently every time. And you won't be able to test out, all the different things. You've got 7 or 8 things you want to get across. There's probably 2 or 3 that really are important, but you'll never know which ones they are until you test it and have enough data to test out. Like, how do you really convert people online? So a few data points I would say is, the Stora website. So bookings and payments, on average, the data we have is that of all the visitors to the site, 2.6% book and pay for self-storage. I don't have that data for a lot of other sites, because most people don't track that. What they track is quotes.
Yeah.
But so quotes to conversions, and actually you're missing the funnel, because you're actually missing the top of the funnel is website visits.
Yeah.
Website visits to bookings, 2.6% is what we've seen so far.
2.6% is amazing, by the way. It's absolutely amazing. 2% is considered absolutely champion in the online e-commerce world.
Yeah, it is good. It is very, very good. And I think that's why when I talk about conversion, I think the Stora website, David's made a good point on LinkedIn about, is our website like good enough? And I think he makes an interesting point. I think all of our products are evolving and improving over time. And so yeah, like to an extent, it could be improved a lot. And it's good feedback. And we are going to be working on that more and more over the course of this year to improve that. However, ultimately what's important is the conversion rate. Are you converting customers through the funnel? And we're doing that at a rate I know is very high, because I was chatting to a large chain recently, and their conversion rate, website visitors to bookings, is at 1.4%. So I know that we are significantly higher than them, and they have high prices, and they have members of staff who take calls and emails and do that. And they're trained, and it's a brilliant business. Like, they're not looking at that and thinking that's really bad. The business is incredibly successful, but things can always be better. So I think it's the conversion rate is important. Another thing I found out is I was chatting to another operator recently, and he has a site in a population twice the size of my first site, and he filled at a rate of about 400 square feet a month on average for his first X number of months.
I was going to say, yeah.
Two or 3 years.
That is 2 or 3 years, right?
I think it was 2 or 3 years. In fact, I think it's taken him maybe, I don't remember, 3 to 5 years to fill. So it's during his fill phase. I was listening to your podcast on Friday about your numbers, and I think there's a difference between your fill phase and then the sort of the maintenance phase afterwards. So I would look at the fill phase as kind of the important number to look at first. He filled at 400 square feet a month roughly, which is in a population of 40,000. I have a population of 22,000, and I filled at a rate of 320 square foot a month. So I've almost half the population, and probably on a per head basis, I've probably filled up at about 70% faster than that business. And I think one of the big differences there is I have online bookings and payments. He actually shows prices, but requires kind of a phone call or some sort of email quote type process. So the data that I've seen does suggest that online bookings and payments is far better. However, there's still questions, and what I need to do, and I'm going to be doing this, hopefully it'll take a while, but we are going to work on basically collecting all this data and getting a report put together that shows kind of here's A, here's B, here's C, here are the conversion rates for each. And ultimately I want to be able to back up what I'm saying with data, because until then it's just an opinion really. And not just data that I'm kind of pulling numbers out. I need to share the data publicly to show people this is exactly what it is. This is how this has worked. Here's how this has worked. Until then, there'll always be a debate. But I think my goal is to kind of end the debate with proper scientific, with a proper scientific data approach, where it's all public. So I'm not just, I could pull those numbers from anywhere really. I need to publicly present them so that anybody can look at them and look at how we've come to conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, straight away, I want to tell everybody that obviously because of Gavin's far bigger data point than I've got, we've actually taken on board what Gavin said, and we've actually started showing the prices for our new site. And obviously the sample size is way too small to even start talking about it. It's not even, there's the stuff that's not incorporated yet. The website isn't up and running. There's loads of things. So it's a really, really small sample size yet, but we've actually listened to Gavin, and from 2.6% to 1.4%, I think I know you're talking about, and it is a good company who know how to sell and everything. And so that is, if those numbers are replicated over a bigger sample size, then that's bananas. That just changes everything. It's phenomenal. I'm actually speechless, because they are just, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? They're absolutely brilliant. Right, I know we've got a real hard cut-off point, so, and okay. I've just cancelled my gym session as well. I was supposed to be going to gym later on, and I had to rearrange a meeting to do this, and so, but I know that you've got to go in 10 minutes, so I'll quickly ask some questions. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to start a self-storage facility now? Because I know we've got loads of people who want to get in the industry, because I've been on some commercial podcasts recently, and so many people want to start in the self-storage industry. What criteria do you look for? Do you recommend people look for to start in an area? Well,
most important thing I think at the moment is to get started. actually, don't take a year, 2 years, 3 years, kind of try not get it perfect. Find something that allows you to get started. And if that means opening up a container site and getting going with that, just as a way of learning, I think that's a great way to do it. But I suppose whenever I look at locations for my own facility business, I look at the population.
Yeah.
What's the population in a 5-mile radius? What's the competitive situation? Are there people doing it? What size are they? Are they full? And I would probably go as far as to say, like, take the population. Let's say the population is 50,000 people. I would say you can probably have 1 square foot at least of net lettable space in that town. So is there 50,000 square feet of net lettable space in that town? If there is, I would probably not bother. If there isn't, there's room, so go for it. And I suppose a couple other things to think about are, I think outdoor and indoor storage are actually different customer bases. So I think you could have loads of container sites taking up that 50,000 square feet, but there'll be demand that's unmet. If there's no indoor storage, there'll be unmet demand for that, and vice versa. If it's all indoor, there'll probably be demand for container storage because I think they're different customer bases from what I've seen. And final thing I suppose I would say is my first site was a leasehold, so I didn't buy the property. So I suppose if you're trying to get going and you want to do an indoor place, consider leasehold. Get a 40-year lease. At least get you started. At least you're learning. Like the amount of stuff I learned in the first 6 months, 12 months. I did all the phone calls to go talk to all the customers.
Yeah, me too.
Spent a lot of time meeting them on site, and you just learn so much. And the quicker you do it, the quicker you start learning, and the quicker you can grow a good business. So yeah, those are the things I'd probably consider.
100% agree with you. What about out positioning people? Are you bothered where you put it? I often say now that if you put a self-storage facility in the back and beyond, it will work. At back of an industrial estate, it will work. But now I'm trying to future-proof, and I want all A1 locations on main roads or just off main roads, and nobody can out-position me. What's your opinion on that, Gavin?
Yeah, I don't know. Our third site is a brilliant position in a very, very big town. And we'll never be out-positioned in that town. So I'll see if that means we'll get a higher price per square foot or not. Ultimately, it depends on how much revenue you're going to make. Is it worth having that better position or is it not? So I don't know. I think I would say if you can take your time, and let's say you want to get to 5 sites, and you're just thinking like the next 20 years I want 5 amazing sites in brilliant positions. You'll probably have a business that will get a better, if you want to sell it, you'll probably get a higher multiple because those good positions are better defensively, better for your business. It's harder for somebody to compete. So there's that. But at the same time, I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait forever. Don't wait for the perfect site. I would just kind of find stuff and get going and open up and learn. And we're such an early stage in the industry that there's just so much room. There's room for every town to have probably 2 or 3 sites, one in a great position, one in a bad position. The price will be slightly different, and that's okay. Just a different model.
Yep. I always say that you don't have to be a good operator to make it work now as well. So you can be a rubbish operator, first of all, learn the trade and still make money, even being a rubbish operator. So I've got some more difficult questions for you then, Gavin, because I feel as though I can be a champion of whoever comes on this podcast, because the only reason they come on this podcast is because I believe in them, I've worked with them, I know how good they are. And so therefore, all I ever say is good things. And so some feedbacks from some people that I know who use Stora, the reporting. People have said that there's not as much reporting as on other softwares. My instant reaction is that Rome wasn't built in a day. It's very early doors. I know Gavin will be doing some reporting of some sort. What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, so I think that's a fair criticism. What we have at the moment is we have a dashboard which we pull into that, like live data on your rate per square foot,
Love
your
that
occupancy numbers,
love it. Yeah,
and your revenue numbers. So that's kind of like a really early version of our dashboard, and we have that. And then because we use Stripe, all of our customers also have access to like amazing, unbeatable revenue reporting in Stripe. So looking at any time period, how's your revenue going? What's your monthly recurring revenue? When it's been up and down?
Yeah.
What's your lifetime value per customer is in there? What's your retention rate month by month over, like there's amazing charts and everything in there. There is all the reporting about your your debtors, what's your due date, or where the numbers there. There's an insane amount of stuff that they've invested tens of millions of dollars in. We'll never beat that. That's amazing. But when it comes to self-storage specific reporting, so things like square footage and move in, move outs, we've done a bit, but there's tons and tons more we will be doing.
Can you import that then, all the Stripe data? Can you import that onto the dashboard or onto some sort of reports on there? Or when you click a report to get a report, can you pull that data from Stripe into your software?
Well, our software is connected to Stripe, so we pull in most of the data into Stora. But yeah, you can go into Stripe and you can download all the data in CSV and do whatever you want with it. But it's so powerful and amazing that you'll probably find that you'll probably find stuff in there that you probably never thought was possible. It's brilliant.
Yeah, the one big thing for me is a CRM, so an inquiry management system at some point. I would and obviously you guys don't focus too much on the inquiry process because you have all the people get the information online, and so that takes a little bit of it away. So I know we're asking for something that Stora is not built on, but have you got any plans of introducing a CRM of some sort?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, so we have a basic CRM in there which collects leads from the site if they don't complete their booking, and we already have an email system in Stora. We just haven't expanded it yet to kind of an automated email system that would allow you to sort of automatically send emails to customers on 5 minutes, 24 hours, some sort of schedule like that where you email people. But that's coming. That's actually quite a small and easy product to build. But yeah, I suppose that again comes down to customer first. What's the customer first experience? I don't know about you, but when I go onto websites and feel like I'm testing somebody else's self-storage website, I never put my own details in. One of my colleagues yesterday was doing it, and he's like, "Oh shit! I just put my real phone number in, but you get bloody phone calls from these people."
Schoolboy error.
So a customer first experience, I think, is not actually phoning people. But saying that, we have to build a product that people want, so we may go down some of that direction at some point. Stora will probably eventually be redesigned in a way that it's kind of more of a. You'll open up Stora and you'll see all the tasks. You'll see the ones that you have to do. You'll see the ones that are automated. So all the things that are happening on a live basis, you'll see in a sort of a landing page. So it'll just be like a list of everything that's happening in your facility on that day, on that second. And that will allow us to put in things like phone this person. But that is, to be fair, quite a bit down the path for us, because we're much more focused on the conversion rate from website visitors to customers, as opposed to how do you convert a quote. Because I ultimately think the conversion rate is actually higher if you get rid of the quote process altogether and just let people book themselves. That's the data that we've seen. So we don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about what I think is something that's going to be phased out anyway.
Interesting. Yeah. I agree with a lot of what you said. I disagree with one thing that you said early doors is that if you put the customer first and you don't really want to be doing sales calls because the customer don't really want that, but then it's almost saying that the selling of anything is not putting the customer first. I mean, we're just trying to buy a car at the minute for my wife, and oh my God, that is horrendous. And I do know what you mean about putting the customer first, because we don't want to be involved in that sales follow-up process. However, if I truly believe that the best thing for my customer is to use me as opposed to somebody else, then I'm going to use that tool of phoning them up to try and get the best result for the customer. And yes, it might be painful at first, but it'll be a long-term big thing. I know you've got to go, Gavin. So one more question is the price. I know somebody who said that the price was just a little bit too much, but he got the price wrong, actually, because we thought you charge 3% of all revenue, and that is not actually the case. And I actually thought it was for some time, for some reason. And so, yeah, what's your take on somebody that says that it's too expensive and Stora takes of the revenue that you guys take?
Yeah, so we do take a percentage, but it goes from 3% at the start down to, I mean, it's ultimately going to go down to like 0.2, 0.3%, as we scale. And that's because we do tons and tons of work. Like, so the bigger you get, the more work our system's doing, the more costs we're incurring, because we do obviously all the automated billing, all the automated invoicing, all the payments. We do all the hosting of the website. So there's a ton of stuff that we actually incur costs as things scale. But But ultimately, our pricing, I think, is cheaper than another product. And so, for example, if you're a new start and you go from 0 to 12,000 of revenue by month 12, so you're adding £1,000 revenue a month, you started off from scratch, you will pay Stora over the course of that year around £3,000 in fees. That's over the course of the year, so that's about 250 quid a month, roughly. If you use a different self-storage software product, you typically will have £1,000 to £2,000 setup fee initially. We don't charge any setup fee; it's all free. We actually provide all of the setup and support completely free. And if you just take that into account, we're probably similar. But if you take into account what we provide, so you don't have to build a website. You don't have to build. This is for new starts. You don't have to build a website. You don't have to build an online bookings and payments yourself. You don't have to. You cut out 50 to 70% of your calls, emails, and stuff because you're letting people book online. We've all the automated invoicing and billing. You never create an invoice. You never have to chase a payment. It's all done for you. So I think our pricing for a new start in that scenario, it actually is relatively similar, but we do, I think, so much more. I think I can't work out how it could be better value. And what we've priced it in a way that just makes it like, rather than taking £1,500 or £2,000 setup fee on day 0, like we collect our fee only as you scale. So we only make that money if you're making a lot more money. So it's all sort of, we're aligned completely with your business as it grows. If you're a much bigger business, then the percentage drops way, way, way down to the point where I was looking at numbers. If you're turning over £100,000 a month and you're growing at 2.5% a month, over a year you'll pay us about £1,000 a month. So it's less than 1% of your revenue. That'll be your total fees for using Stora. So actually the Stora fees themselves are quite low. There's a second point though, and I'll be really quick because I know it used to go as well. One of the things is
I've cancelled my meeting. You're all right, buddy.
Okay, cool. There is a second fee with using Stora for now, which is Stripe fee, and that is ultimately sometimes where things can get a bit high for the existing operators like yourself, for example. If you're turning over 100 grand to £250,000 a month, the Stripe fees, the way that we've structured Stora initially, are quite high, and so for those sort of operators, it can get high when you add in Stripe. So that's okay. We made a decision about a year and a half ago to use Stripe in a certain way, which allowed us to save tons and tons and tons of time. But it just means it's a little bit more expensive. So over the next, like this year, we're going to be transitioning. There's 2 parts of our Stripe setup. One of them we're changing quite soon, which will actually mean that rather than our customers having their own Stripe accounts and having to go and pay Stripe separately, all of it will be pulled actually into Stora. So we'll be able to go and negotiate with Stripe on £500,000, £1 million of monthly revenue. So we should be able to quite quickly get down to really, really, really low card processing fees, which we can pass on to our customers. So using Stora, you should actually get like seriously low pricing on your card processing. There's a second part of Stripe we use, which also costs our customers a small fee, and we will be transitioning off that probably, I'd say, next year, which will also save a lot of costs. So we're doing these things because it's fine for startups, because it's on a 12 grand a year business, you're paying us 250 quid a month. It's not that bad. But if you get to really large and it starts to be a bit big because of Stripe, those changes we're making will change that over the long term. So we're just in the sort of process of working out how we do that at the moment technically. So basically we're really attractive to everybody from a pricing point of view.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think we're pushing £90,000 in Willoughby, including VAT, and we're around about 17 grand on the other site as well. And the one we've got through you, I think we're taking like 2,500 at the minute a month. So we'll be in the little bracket. Obviously, Stripe would be a cost for us. My takeaway for this, Gavin, is that you put customers first. You're always talking about customers first. And the best that I think that you putting that foot forward is incredible, because ultimately we're Stora's customers, and you're always talking about putting the customers first. So listeners to the podcast, Gavin is putting us first. That is ultimately what he's doing. And I try to, because I want to balance things up, because I don't want it just to be a podcast where I just champion the other person. I think Gavin has literally batted away everything, but just to balance it up again, I personally love I did a podcast about on Wednesday about Stora and what I am impressed with, what I think can improve, and we've talked about it. But I mean, the dashboard for me is absolutely incredible, and I wanted to partner with Gavin. I think his vision for the industry is incredible, and I believe that if anybody can, Gavin will do it. And so I look at you as like
no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, original gangster. So I love it. And I actually looked at doing all this myself because I'm a person who thinks, right, do you know what? How much is it going to be? What can I do? Can I sellotape this together my own way? And the answer was hell no, absolutely hell no. The Yachty integration, the trying to find out if a person's really who they say they are, and doing all them ID checks. It was incredibly painful. So yeah, I'm talking from experience. I think you've got a wonderful product here, Gavin, and I just thank you for your time, buddy. It's been absolutely fantastic, and every single time you come on, buddy, I learn something new. So thank you.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks for having me on, and well done with your business too. And thanks for the podcast. I have to say, whenever I first got into self-storage, I started listening to your podcast right at the start, and I learned so much. So thank you for doing the podcast too. They've helped me massively as well.
No, cheers, I appreciate it. So if anybody wants a demo, Gavin, of Stora and what it can do, or just to read some more information, give us some links, buddy, and we'll put them in the show notes.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. So Stora.co is our website, Stora.co, and you can book a demo there directly with me, or you can email me at Gavin@Stora.co. And yeah, just get in touch anytime, please do. Even with questions about the industry or anything, happy to chat about self-storage.
Yeah, and I've got to say, from a personal point of view, you really care as well, because I came to you and said, look, can we improve in any way, shape, or form? And you literally said, yeah, I think you can do this. And I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. So from a personal point of view, I know that Gavin definitely cares. So thank you very much, Gavin. I appreciate it. I'm going to let you get going now, mate, because we've gone over.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, pal.